What's up, man? It's Javon Bishop. I'm back with Knee Deep in the Game, episode 11. I'm here with a special guest, Mike McCormick. Man, somebody that I looked up to coming up, someone who I admired in the space of basketball. So we're going to have a super dope episode. I'm going to let him give himself a better introduction, and then we're going to get started.
So Mike McCormick, uh, I would just try more so call myself a mentor, coach. Um, More so, I feel like I'm more of a life coach than anything because basketball is very small to me. You know what I'm saying? What's more important is like developing as individuals, as human beings. So, I mean, that's all I got. I ain't got like a whole spill. But I will start off by saying this. I want to congratulate you on the space, right? On the space that you've created for basketball, for athletes, even entering into this space of like interviewing. I think that's very dope. And I think we don't do enough job of like recognizing people who are making like influential differences. So I want to salute you in your space also.
For sure. And before we even get into the questions, like, a lot of it, like, I'm blessed to hear you say that because I get a lot of not a pressure from you, but like when me and you talk back and forth, you always push me to just think outside of the box
Mm.
and not be comfortable with where I'm at. And so a lot of the times, we'll have a conversation and I think I'm doing like this big thing and you'll kind of bring me back down and be like, yo, but you can do more, bro. Like
Hmm.
you better than what you seeing. Like take your thought process to another level. Look at this. Look at how this got done because you've seen such a high level and you've been outside of the realm of Baltimore. And so my space and mindset has been narrowed. And then when I come and talk to you, you make me broad in my ideas and my space. So, a part of this is just me and you talking and, trying to take it to another level. And to hear you say that, man, I really appreciate
No,
it.
for sure. For sure. And I want to say this. The biggest thing is because like we can be our biggest barriers. So if we don't have the vision to kind of like think outside of like the boxes people kind of create for us, we get stuck in that space. And we get into a space where we feel like we got to rely on other people to help us get to the next level when you already have like the foundation. And that's regardless of athlete, regardless of trainer, regardless of an entrepreneur. Like you have all the tools. Sometimes the tools just need to be sharpened. And one of our biggest deterrents on success is just being complacent on like where we are or looking for somebody else just to give us like that assist. Where at the end of the day, if you're a playmaker, just make the play. And next thing you know, your assists are going to help elevate you. So that's one of my biggest things, especially when it comes to young people. I don't feel like we have enough older, because I ain't real old, but we don't have enough older people like really kind of like planting those seeds and giving that hand to help the next generation of trainers, of influencers. And when I say influence, I don't mean social media, like people who really have influence to really set their own stage. You know what I'm saying? Because at some time, people got to transition out and new people come in because that's just the way of how it is. You know what I mean? So
For
if
sure.
people just do that in a space of being genuine and authentic and really caring about people, then you leave the space that you leave in good hands.
For
So
sure.
that's like one of my biggest things that when it comes to you, because you actually do things out of being genuine. You ain't trying to latch on to this person or that person. You're really going through the process the right way. So people like you, we gotta uplift and push out there, cause man, people getting old.
For sure.
You know what I'm saying? Real talk, people getting old. So just keep on doing your thing. I mean that for real.
And it's crazy, right? You probably don't even remember this conversation. I was young, and me and you was in the car, and you was like one of the first people I ever seen like outside of an AAU team or high school that like kind of created your own brand outside of that.
Mm.
And like Mike McCormick was his own brand, and people would come out and reach out for you to help their program. So you was one of the first people I seen have a personal brand. And I remember being in the car with you one day, and I just was like, "Bro, I want to be better than you. Like I want to take what you did and get to the next level." And like it was just exciting to see that like you didn't get offended or nothing. You was like, "It's gonna take a lot." But every time I asked you questions or wanted to get nuggets and gems from you, you never turned your back. Like you always was like an open book for me. And like any questions that I had, and I would just pick your brain about any and everything. And you never like told me any question was a bad question.
Mm.
And like I just appreciated that. And even to this day, like I always just have a bunch of questions on what you see and, you know, what it takes to get to the next level. You know, I remember on New Year's I had a question about like Keith Stevens and how he got to where he was at. And you know, you just gave me the tidbits. And so like even just like that, like I really appreciate it because I be feeling like my generation, like we kind of feel like the older guys don't really want to let us in the door
Mm.
and give us those nuggets to where they got. And I don't know if it's because they scared of us or, you know, they feel like threatened because, you know, we in a space where we got social media and maybe we can get somewhere a little quicker. But, you know, you was always one of them people like you didn't mind, you know, someone coming, you know, behind you. Cause like you said,
For sure.
y'all can only be in the space for so long. And the same thing will happen to me. So like
Yeah.
I really appreciate you just always being an open book and, you know, setting an example. Like I said, like it wasn't many people I ever seen that had their own brand, you know, outside of an AAU team or a high school team. But like people really was, you know, coming after you to, you know, help their
No,
programs.
I appreciate that. And what I'll say to that is like a lot of people find identity in the sport. You follow me? For me, the identity is always in how you help people. So even when what you're saying is like, I feel that and I appreciate that 1,000%. And those who don't invite you into the space or help you in the space are those that just saying, you know, you don't need to waste your time with them anyway. But I think one of the biggest things with listening to what you just said is at the end of the day, is this understanding that your success, I tell people all the time, at the end, if I can help you even a little bit in your success and then you make it, I always want people to be better than me because I'm still striving to be better than myself, where I'm currently am. So if you can surpass me and I even have a little bit of influence in that, then that's a win. Your success ain't my loss. You know what I'm saying? Because we can both win at the same time.
Dope.
Like I really like, and that's genuine. Like we can both win at the same time. Your wins don't reflect me. You follow me?
For sure.
Because if I'm really like that, I'm gonna win.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? So I don't look at your success as a threat. I look at your success as a plus. Your success adds to my success if I had a part in your success. And I think if we start kind of embodying that as a culture, then we'll see so many more people win. And then it's each one teach one, each one grab one. You know what I'm saying? So my whole thing is I hope whatever I plant in you or others, at some point, they're gonna come and grab somebody else up. And now we keep the cycle going because at the end of the day, we talking about just overall success. So no, I appreciate that though.
Absolutely.
1,000.
Now, you've been a part of like some really big time teams and programs, starting from Baltimore Nike Elite, and then even going down the road to DC and being a part of those takeover teams when they was winning Peach Jam. Like, for one, what were you bringing to the table that made those teams, you know, come after you and want you to be a part of something so big?
So I'm gonna take it back just a little bit. So I started coaching at 18, right out of high school. And the first person I reached out to was Darrell Corbett, Mount Royal. So back then it was still Team Mello. Through Corbett, because Corbett coached Malcolm Delaney, which is my cousin. So all I knew was just great things about Coach Corbett. He wanted to still few old school, going to teach, not getting caught up in politics or anything, right? And I wanted to learn from that, from the AAU scene. Before that, I started high school at my alma mater, Mervo, with Daryl Wade, who was like my godfather. So I had two people as far as just basketball that I just learned so much from. Then we enter into me meeting Bub, who's the director of Nike Baltimore Elite. And then he just gave me a lot of game. You know what I'm saying? Just in the space. Um, so I'll say one of the things that I feel like has helped me be in the space where people were okay with me being in the space is being authentic. So even when that time passed and I ended up going to Team Takeover with Keith Stevens, it was always just about the work. It wasn't about what someone can do for me. It was about me making sure that I earned my space. And I think that's was like my foundation. I always wanted to earn my space. I don't want nobody to feel like they gave me anything. So I always wanted to be the hardest worker. I always wanted to go above and beyond. Um, and that has allowed me to be in a space of like, you know, oh, one thing about Mike, he gonna get it done, but I'm not looking for anything. I'm not looking for credit. That's the number one thing. I don't want credit. I like working behind the scenes. I don't want no credit. I don't need to be acknowledged. My name ain't gotta be sung to the rafters. You know what I'm saying? But I always just wanted to earn my keep. It wasn't like I don't want nothing given to me. Um, so I think that's kind of what helped my foundation. And I always wanted to be a student also. So I learned so much from the people I just mentioned, Corbett, Bub, um, Daryl Wade, and then even with me being a part of the Team Takeover family, I learned so much more. You know what I'm saying? Because sometimes we can get caught in our own environments, and it's so much more out there. So just watching a Keith Stevens, a Jamil Jones, allowed me to see, all right, what can the game give? You follow me? Without being in a space of, all right, what can I just take from the game? Because at the end of the day, the number one goal is helping people achieve goals. So one of the things about Team Takeover and even with Baltimore Elite, it wasn't just about the children. It was also about, all right, as adults, as coaches, what is it that you want? You follow me?
Absolutely.
Um, and in that space, it was always everybody can win as a collective. So that's always been my mindset. So even with me going there, and even when it comes to, like you said, even pouring into the younger coaching space, it's always, all right, what can we do more of to help people elevate? I don't have aspirations of being a college coach. Could have been there, done that, right? My goal is always just to see people win. I have my career. You know what I mean? So in those spaces, it was always just as a collective to one grow, to one learn, and to one see how I can impact the space with, like you said, not the extras, but how can I impact the space? And that's why I've always just went so hard with how can I impact the space, because I believe everybody win is a win. Fair exchange ain't no robbery. You know what I mean? So that's
Sure.
always been like kind of like the foundation that I've always stood on.
And what's some things when you went up to the road to DC and watch Takeover operate and see someone like a Keith Stevens who operates at a high level, what are some things that you see that makes them so successful?
It operates as a business. You know what I'm saying? Like it actually operates as a business, and the quality of people who are involved in the program. So when you look at it, everybody has the same agenda. Everybody has the same goal in mind. So there's no infighting. There's no like, I want to supersede this person. Everybody's okay in their role because their role leads to ultimate success. Ultimate success always leads to everybody winning, but you just got to play your role. You follow me? So I was always good in my role. Coaches are always good in their role. And then as a collective, everybody wins. You know what I mean? But I say the one thing I learned from Keith, not about him, more so learned from him, is how you treat people matters. How you treat people matters. In business, we always say people don't leave their job, they leave their supervisors, right? Like they leave the people who are the boss. But if you treat people the right way, people will always stay and lock in.
Mm.
And people will always fight and go through a brick wall for you. So if I had to take anything from Keith, it'll be how you treat people matter. Everybody feels seen, everybody feels heard, everybody feels supported, everybody feels taken care of. So if you have all the adults that feel like that, then it's easy to plant seeds in children. It's easy to keep that team camaraderie. It's easy to work with another coach. It's easy. It just makes things so much easier. And then as a collective, everybody wins. You know? So when you see people going on from coaching 16s or 17s and now coaching at high major universities, right? That's not by happenstance. That's not by luck. It's a process because everything operates as a business. You know what I'm saying? And as a boss, as a supervisor, your employees stay retained because they believe in you. And you make them a part of your process and they feel seen, they feel heard. So they come back every year implementing the same thing and you keep on implementing the same success over and over and over. You know what I mean? So that's my tidbit on that one.
And how do you like with an organization that's so big, how do you constantly keep everybody feeling appreciated? Like, is it constant meetings? Is it Zoom call? Like, how do you do that?
By making everybody feel involved, I believe. I think that's with anything. You know what I'm saying? Like every voice just needs to feel heard. Everybody just needs to feel appreciated. Like that's the number one thing. And it can't be about me. It has to be about we. So, and like I said, it's not about just AAU.
Mhm.
That's a business model.
Right.
That's a even if you're not an entrepreneur, that's being a supervisor of employees. If everybody feel like it's we and not me, and that everybody, even if it's something crazy, and you be like, that ain't gonna work, but if you allow them the space,
Mhm.
people buy into that and they lock into you. You know what I mean? So I think that's one of the things that we have to do better of as a culture because I believe a lot of people are about me and not about we as a collective. So once you start getting to in that space of we, now you got a whole army behind you by just making people feel seen and heard, and they buy into that, and then that trickles down because I always say BS flows downhill. So if the top is on some BS, oh, that's gonna flow downhill. But if you're at the top is about integrity, about doing things the right way, then that flows also. So now the people under you influence the people under them, which influence the people under them. Now you develop a real culture. And that's not just about takeover, that's about anything that you put your hands on. So that's how you really keep that going for real.
For sure, for sure. And through the years, I got a chance to just be around you and, even dealing with my brother Bishop, you've been super connected with like a ton of college coaches, down to Team USA. Like, how do you get those relationships, one, and then how do you keep those and sustain those relationships? And like what makes these programs want to reach out to you as far as recruitment and for kids?
I think it's always it goes back to just doing things the right way. I don't believe in wasting people's time. I don't believe in, what I'm saying, rocking people to sleep. I believe in if you're straightforward, people they can respect it. So you're dealing with college coaches and you're dealing with anyone who is in a recruiting lane, right? I feel like time is of the essence. So if you're just honest with them in a space of like, hey coach, don't even waste your time with that one because he's bop 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 bop, right? They respect that. So if they know they ain't got to jump through hoops and you just going to be straightforward and upfront, then that keeps them coming back because there's still a thing of character and integrity. You know what I mean? It's not I just want the relationship, so I'm gonna rock you to sleep and I'm going to give you all these things that kind of keep you in a pocket. No, it's like, bro, he ain't your level, bro. I ain't gonna lie. He gonna be you at the mid major level, but next year his projection is he gonna be high major. Don't even waste your time. But if you're looking for that, got somebody else for you. If you like them, you like them. Blah blah blah. So I think just being honest and authentic and just just keeping it clean across the board, not looking for the me, but staying true to all right. At the end of the day, the goal is to help someone else reach a certain level. An athlete goal is you want to keep the coach coming, right? Coaches respect people respect just being honest, and not trying to rock them to sleep with all the shoulder rubbing and so if you stay in that space and stay in that pocket, that I think that's the one thing that I've always just tried to do, waste no one's time. Because that's the one thing in this world you don't get back is time.
For sure.
You know what I mean? So people respect that space. And when you carry yourself a certain way of just being this honor and integrity, um, that makes them want to lock in with you even more because they know, all right, if I got a shot, I got a shot. If I don't, he ain't gonna waste my time. So it's an easy, quick bop. You know what I mean?
For sure.
So we stay in that space. I think that's one of the reasons why I've sustained my relationships without being a part of or having to connect myself with an AAU team or this player or that player. It's just like I'm just me. You know what I mean? I'm gonna keep it. I'm gonna shoot it straight the same way I do with athletes. I'm gonna keep it straight with the coaches and whomever, parents or whatever. It's just that straight shot of what it is, what it ain't. You can take it, you can leave it, but I'm always gonna be able to sleep good at night because I told you straight what it
Exactly.
is. You know what I'm saying?
And that's real. Like, and I think just transparency is such a big thing on why you was able to sustain. And you're just one of them people, like, you really do the things you do because it comes from a genuine space. And it's not to stuff your pockets or personal gain. And even just from my experience, when my brother was going through the situation with LSU and things didn't go his way, you were still there.
Mm-hmm.
I was able to still call you and you answered the phone and you still was calling and checking in on me. And a lot of times when people go through that adversity, people disperse, people hide. You can't get in touch with them and you can't call them as much as you used to. And you was just one of them people, like, when things weren't going our way, I could still call you and ask you, man, what you think about this, or what's the next best move, Mike? And I appreciate that, because again, it was all genuine from the get-go, just like you told us. And it took to see that, for us to go through that, to see, like, nah, man, like, he is really by our side. Not for personal gain, not to throw us up on an Instagram page, or to say he know us. Nah, it's just to see us win.
No, for sure.
And I appreciate that, because there's not many people out here like that. A lot of people, like you said, they out to latch on. It's about personal gain. And not that everybody shouldn't win, but the first priority should always be the kids.
No, absolutely. And I think you got to understand what winning looks like. You know what I'm saying? Like, for even when y'all were going through that situation, I was lucky to already have relationships with the head coach, with where it can kind of expedite things, and being this true to the space of, boom, this is what it is. This what ain't working. Want a smooth transition to be able to then put situations together that just made sense where he could flourish. But again, it wasn't about me, right? It was about seeing someone in a bad situation that wasn't beneficial to them, and how can you help? That's like the customer service business, right? How can I help? It ain't about what can I get out of it. It's about, all right, how can I help? Because at the end of the day, we have Bishop, is an extreme talent, right? Extreme talent, one of the best scorers that I ever laid eyes on. Go to a bad situation. Okay, it happens, right? But true relationships are, no matter what decision you make, even if it's against what I think is best, still sticking with you through the good, the bad, the ugly, and then trying to make sugar out of shit. like for real. Like, that's just all it is. You know what I mean? This, all right, this is what we have. So now how do we make it better? You know what I mean? It ain't about, oh, well, you ain't do what I said the first time, or it ain't about that.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Because as young men, as men, you make mistakes, you learn from the mistakes, right?
Exactly.
But it ain't, oh, you did something opposite of what I suggested, so now it's like, oh, no, I ain't got, no, you put yourself in a situation. No, relationships are, no matter what it is that you go through, even if you go opposite of me, if I rock with you, then the goal is pass or fail. I'm going to still be there. Even if it passed and I thought something different, he'd be like, see, I told you. I got that. You right. You right. If it fail, Mike, bop, bop, bop. Don't worry about it. We're going to get it taken care of. That's relationship. You know what I'm saying? And that's genuine relationship. So I can't go from us riding in the car, playing with Kirk Lee, you know what I'm saying, and going all the way here, and then it's like, all right, now we get to this pinnacle, and now it's like, oh, no, that's disingenuine. You follow me? So his success and everything is learning from. So now even that experience you went through, you'll be able to coach other people through that experience. So again, each one teach one. We keep the cycle going. You know what I'm saying?
For sure.
Because you got children, athletes, because they still kids, that are under your tutelage, right? So now it's like, all right, bet. Now you've been equipped now with more knowledge to help them along. And now we keep that cycle going, because now one of them might make a poor decision and you'll be able to coach them through. So now once they become older, somebody else, now they're able to coach them through. And we just keep the cycle of success going. Just a roadblock or a pothole doesn't rear off the whole goal.
Yeah.
you guys got to take a little different journey.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
for
So
sure.
if we stay grounded in that space, that's what this is all about.
For sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's light. That's light work.
Yeah, it's just like, man, so often you just hear people say the word genuine, genuine so
Mhm.
much. But to see you actually live exactly what you preach, man, it's a blessing because again, you just don't get that many people that you can rely on when things get bad.
No,
Everybody take the ride with you when you at the height or it look like things are
no
gonna
question.
go a certain way.
There ain't no
But
question.
like you said, when that thing turned to shit, who really there? And man, like to be able to call you for good counsel, man, it was just such a blessing, and it made the transition a lot easier
Mhm.
because you had told us the right thing from the jump.
Mhm.
We went away from that, right? And so I knew the second go around, like, man,
It's a layup.
he right. We
Yeah.
he know what the hell he talking
Yeah,
about,
it's a layup. And but I'll say like no go like even with you all going that route, it was for a reason.
For sure,
You know what I'm saying? Because there were lessons that were learned in that process.
for sure,
So it's not even like, oh, you went that route. It's just like, oh man, it's just a bad decision. Because there's still nuggets you can take out of that.
for sure.
And all of us have gone through times in our lives where we've reared in the wrong direction, right?
For sure.
And we gotta take it as a lesson, not a loss. So now once we enter into the right spot, now we even more locked in.
For sure.
You know what I mean? So no, it's that stuff right there, that's a layup.
For sure.
You know what I mean?
For sure.
That's a layup.
Nah, for sure. And now I wanted to tap into like you've been around some just tough guards, man. Ace Baldwin, Montez Robinson, Malik Mack. Like what equips those guys to be bad motherfuckers? Like, what do you see in those guys that they're able to be as successful as they are?
I'll say consistency, right? So the one person I can really really speak I can speak to all of them, but the one person I'll talk about like in its true essence, it'll be Quan. And me and Quan came up with this thing called the blueprint, right? So even if you see something on social media, it's always like hashtag the blueprint. Um, and I think out of everybody that you named, Quan has been the most influential in my space because it was a lot of different obstacles in that. So Quan was a really, really good football player. Um, and with that transition to basketball, his whole thing was kind of proving everybody wrong. But when it came to 5 a.m. workouts, consistent. There were times Quan would text me if I'm woke. You know what I mean? It wasn't the opposite. He would text me, "You woke?" Because he just wanted to get in the gym. And it was a consistency with that. And it was a trust factor with that also. Where we really just came up with starting out at Durant 15 and under because they needed a point guard. And he wasn't even a point guard, but it was an opportunity. Then it was like, all right, bet, we're going to knock this out. Because I ain't want to just be like, all right, we're going to take over or throw was bad. No, it was just about the opportunity. Because AAU was a business. At the end, all these programs got to win, right? So with him, it was we created a plan, but it was just consistent. So from 15, 16, 17s, it was always the it never changed. It always stayed the same. So consistency, I believe, is the major part of that. I remember even with Ace, me and Ace used to watch Tyler Eulis play for Kentucky. At Kentucky, Tyler Eulis was Player of the Year and Defensive Player of the Year. And me and Ace used to watch him like as a freshman when he was a freshman in high school. What Ace ended up becoming? Defensive Player of the Year, Player of the Year. You know what I mean?
For sure.
But Ace also was a level of consistency. You know what I'm saying? Taz, the same way. I got a picture. I still got a picture on my phone of Bishop, Taz, and Ace
Hmm.
when we was at your spot when they were young.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So even with that, like the proof is always just in the pudding of consistency. It's not like it's not a Mike is just so great at this, right? What I'm great at is letting you know who you are. Like it's not, oh, I'm great of giving you this or giving you that, and now you're going to catapult. No, it's letting you know what you already have, and let's maximize on that space. So a Ace, a Quan, a Taz, it was never like a secret sauce to it. It was just always embedded in the work. So I think, and I say this because a lot of times, especially when you're dealing with like AAU guys and when you're dealing with people who are really trying to eat off the sport, they make themselves the reason. We're not the reason. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
What we are we're a helping hand. We're enhancing what they already have. You know what I'm saying? Like they already have that. Like Ace is a Ace is one of the most accoladed players that come out of Baltimore City, hands down. Stack him up against anybody in Baltimore City, hands down.
For sure.
Accolades: Quan, St. Francis, successful. St. John's, WCHT championships. It's the success this reeks. Martaz is by far a top 2, if not 1 guard in the MEAC right now. You know what I mean?
For
Like
sure.
that ain't Mike McCormick thing. That's a Martaz Robinson thing. That's an Ace Baldwin thing. That's a Daquan Davis thing. So it's like if you can find somebody to put the battery in your back to let you know who you are, remind you of who you are, then if you do that every day, you have no choice but to believe in yourself. You have no choice but to enter in every game confident, enter every workout going hard. You know what I'm saying? But that's just me putting a battery in your back to, no, you are this. Ace at 9th grade. Yo, like this is you. You know what I'm saying? But that was just a vision of just what I believed in him. Quan, no, yo, you are a high major basketball player. When I was getting phone calls of like, yo, he needs to play football. Yo, he a beast at football. I never watched Quan play a football game in my life. Yo, he is a football player, but he wants to be a basketball player. So that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna do what he wants to do. Man, we're gonna go hard at it and see what happens. But it's loud, you know, you can be a great football player, you can be a great basketball player, but at the end of the day, I want you to do what you want to do. And guess what? He on a 4-ride Florida State, doing his thing, starting the whole 9, right? A Sway, Sway takeover relationship who ended up being like family to me, who is my family. Same thing. You know what I mean? Guess what? Rookie of the year at Harvard, everybody was giving him a whole bunch. I said, Sway, do what you want to do. Whatever it is that you want to do it and go hard with it. Went to Harvard, now at Georgetown. You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, it's just really empowering people to just do what their wants are, and then just making sure they have the tools in the toolbox to accomplish whatever it is, and letting them know that everything that you have is you got it already. So now it's like, how can we just sharpen those tools? It's not, I'm not a guru. You know what I'm saying? But what I am is I'm the best hype man you'll ever have in your life. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to make you believe in yourself, things that you probably ain't even believe. Anything somebody said, oh, all right, bet. Let them keep that. But do you know who you are? And that's what we all just need. You know what I'm saying? It's not, oh, well, I got this player here. No, they got themselves there, flat out. Quan got himself where he is. Ace got himself where he is. Taz got himself where he is. All I was the best hype man in the world behind them to let them know this what you have. You're good. You have everything that you need. Now just maximize on it. That's it.
And how do you get players of that magnitude? How do you get the buy-in? You know, because they all got different personalities. You know, how do you get that buy-in from those players?
By being authentic and just believing in them. I mean, it ain't no secret sauce to it. You know what I'm saying? Same thing with a Bishop. Like, I remember me and Coach Donald watching Bishop torch Team Rio. That's when they had I want to say his name was Scotty Lewis.
Yeah, Brian Antoine.
Oh my God, bro. They was torching the UA circuit. We watched Bishop give them the business. And we watched that game and we literally said I said, yo, listen, if Bishop go to the A10, he'll be an all-time leading scorer. Just flat out. Boom. What happens? He was in the A10 for 3 years. And what is he? You know what I'm saying? Like, at the end of the day, he's one of the most scored athletes at his school. You follow me? So it's just like, all right, having a vision and just putting a battery in people back to knock that thing out the park. That's it. I swear to you, it's not rocket science for real. It's really just being genuine. You know what I'm saying? In the space. It wasn't like, all right, bet. This person, oh, he go here, we want to go the highest because then that look good on the resume of whatever the case may be. No, it's about what is best for him in that moment. You know what I'm saying? And at the end of the day, all that stuff just it all comes together for the good.
For sure.
That's it.
For sure. Now basketball is in a great space with this NIL thing, man, and I think it's long overdue. Players probably should have been getting paid, and it's really good to see athletes, get a head start on life with this money that they getting. Can we get a little talk about like just NIL management and managing the money and keeping the right people around you to make sure that you have this money when your basketball career is over. Some kids will end up playing professional basketball, but it's going to be a large pool of kids that don't.
That's
I want to see these kids keep this money 10, 15 years from now. How do you do that? And, how do you keep the right people around you to do that?
That's a deep one. And I only say that because I'm kind of in a space right now. What I've realized with NIL is this. It's a great opportunity. I like nothing best for athletes to get paid for all of the revenue that they bring to these colleges and universities. I think what we have to get into a space of is education. The one thing that I tell everyone, and I try to give out as much free game as possible, is creating the team that is going to educate you. Because when these athletes are getting all of this money, and especially those who are looking to go to the next level and projected to go to the next level, it's always just about attaching yourself to them once they get to the next level and not maximizing on the opportunities that you have now. So education is very important. So for the small group that I support and I help, it's always about just making a team of people that's more knowledgeable than me in the space of the foundation being education. The one thing we lack as a culture is financial literacy. So if you're giving a kid 100,000, 250,000, 500,000, 700,000, 800,000, a million, right? Which is how this NIL space has grown. What is that if you don't have the education on how to manage it? And if you're projected to go pro, what happens is you have a team of people that's just waiting for that time and not allowing you to maximize on the time that you're in right now. So the one thing I'll say is that it's a wonderful space to be in because we're breaking a lot of generational hardship. It's a tricky space because what happens is you'll have people that's around you that's only waiting for you to get to that next level and not maximizing on the time that you have now and not setting you up for long-term stability. When we're in sports, it can end today or tomorrow, right? So how do we maximize on the space right now? I feel like a lot of people prey on people's lack of knowledge than wanting to empower them to make their own decisions and have thoughts of their own, right? My philosophy has always been, again, each one teach one. So my thing is, one of my guys that's part of one of my guys' team, financial advisor, when we met, I explained to him, listen, I'm rocking with you, but whatever I ask this person, I want them to talk to me as if they're you. That's how much knowledge I want them to have, right? Before we talk about investment, before we talk about IRAs, before we talk about all of these things where we're going to put money, right? I want them to be able to teach me what they are before we dive into that space. And what that does is it empowers. Because I feel like if you're just telling people what they should do, how they should do this, you're a dictator, right? Knowledge allows people to think for themselves and make knowledgeable decisions based off of what they've learned. So if we get into that space of the NIL, now we're creating generational wealth because a lot of athletes are getting some really, really, really good money. You follow what I'm saying? And also what I realized, and I just had a meeting with a athlete and a potential agency, and it was highway robbery. You know what I mean? They were charging a super high percentage rate on what the money they'll get from the collective. So the way money is broken down with NIL is different. So with athletes, especially high caliber athletes, when you go into these schools and they're like, I'm gonna give you 250, I'm gonna give you 200, it comes from a collective of donors, right? So there's still terms that are attached to that. So if I have an athlete and they're coming into, and the school is like, I'm gonna give you 250 and 50, these are the terms. Terms could be like 250 autographs on memorabilia per month. It can be two appearances, with donors or whatever event they choose, because it's how to recoup their money also. But then it was like an agency trying to tax an athlete on, all right, bet you might enter this, or you might enter that. We take in this amount. And I said, oh, the collective? They like, yeah, but we're going to maximize. I'm like, no, you're scamming, right? And you're preying on the ignorance of the athlete, the ignorance of the family, because you only know what you know. If you don't know, people can rock you to sleep. You follow what I'm saying?
Sure.
So I appreciate the whole ordeal of NIL. I appreciate it, right? But more so when you're talking about that circle of people, you have to truly know who the people that are with you and for you, rather than the people who want to benefit off of you. Like, that's it. I always tell athletes, lock into your parents, because win, lose, or draw, you always gonna be stuck with them. You fail, your own quote unquote mentor, manager, whomever the case may be, they gonna go to the next one, while you just in the ruts. You follow me? So for me, it's just like knowing those circles and knowing the people who are really for you and the people who are really want to empower you is like, it's everything. Because when you're a projected top 10 lottery pick or whatever, or the NFL draft or whatever the case may be, people prey on that
For sure.
and don't allow you the opportunity to maximize on where you are. So they'll let you be rocked to sleep. They'll rock you to sleep themselves, because they only thinking about, all right, I want to sit at the table. All right, bet. This agency, they giving me this to make sure, bop, bop, bop. No, the goal is like, yo, I want to educate you. So if I'm not here, you already have the knowledge to keep this thing going, because we're on borrowed time. You know what I mean? So if you can maximize on this time, that's all it is to it. But you got to make sure you have people who are there truly for you and not there for what you can do for them, because people have a lot of ulterior motives in their head. You know what I mean? Everybody want to look like a guru. At the end of the day, it's about who's going to support you in your process. You know what I'm saying? And really empower you to make your own decisions. Because I don't want to be a person that tells you what to think. I need you to think for yourself. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
That'd be good.
for sure. And like kind of like with the athletes that you have, man, they got a cheat code because they got you. So like, do you have any advice for like someone who may not have somebody like you in a corner, or it's a lot of single moms out here dealing with kids that have potential to have big earnings with NIL. What advice can you give them when they watch this podcast on how to sift through the bullshit?
Yeah, well, what I say is the first thing is stay grounded in the work. Stay grounded keep the main thing the main thing. The main thing is just you working, right? You taking every time to just get better, because the NIL thing is a bonus, right? If the goal is the next level, guess what? Stay locked into that. Stay locked into keeping the main thing the main thing. I always tell parents, just educate yourself, right? Google, ChatGPT. We have so many resources. Like, lock into those resources. Don't depend on somebody to be a mouthpiece to tell you everything they feel like you need to know, because you could be rocked to sleep. Learn on your own. You know what I'm saying? Because then if you learn on your own, you can also shift out the bullshit. You can shift out, nah, you bluffing, because I already know bop, 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 bop. So don't show your hand, right? Build your own knowledge base, and that'll help you navigate. Now, people who don't want you to build your knowledge, they want to take advantage of you. Me, I want you to learn as much as you can. You follow me? Because at the end, education is everything. That's going to unlock freedom. So if you can do that on your own, you're good. You follow me? And then when you're talking about kind of shift through everything, like, everyone has a spirit of discernment. You know what I'm saying? And if you don't, we are tuned enough to know, like, all right, I get it. Like, I see where you're going. But I always tell parents, be front and center. Don't allow no one to speak for you, right? If someone not teaching you, they're taking advantage of you. So if you just keep those like fundamental things, and it's with like any relationship, you know what I'm saying? If you keep those fundamental things, you good. Like, but keep the main thing, and build your own knowledge. And if someone's not trying to educate you, they're trying to use you. You know what I'm saying? They're going to prey on your lack of.
The next thing I wanted to talk about with the NIL, these guys are getting a lot of money, super early. And it's like, how can we expect kids to still keep their mind on the main goal of the pros and you getting $1 million in college? Like as an 18-year-old kid, I know that can be challenging. And you're someone who's knee deep in the space. Are you seeing that with the athletes that you're dealing with, where like they kind of seesawing back and forth with focus and unfocused because they're getting so much money? And what is some advice that you're giving to them to kind of reground them?
So I'll say again, to keeping the main thing, and always just doing a reminders of the ultimate goal. And the ultimate goal, I'll say, is to be a professional at something.
Right.
Right. Pro does not mean just professional athlete.
For sure.
You can be a professional engineer. You can be a professional lawyer, doctor, whatever it is. Right. So keeping the main thing has been like number one, and understanding this. A lot of athletes are making money now because they're trying to, like, that's the goal. Like, I just want to maximize on how much money I can make. But you can get into a space of getting a great quote unquote NIL deal but being in a bad situation. So it's also weighing that. All right, what is the best situation that's going to help you achieve your long-term goal, rather than this short glitterly not glitterly glitter of an opportunity of making however much money, right? Because now you might be sacrificing, you might make 300,000 this year, but guess what? You could have been in a situation that might have gave you 225, and it'll put you in a better position to win.
Yeah.
And reach the ultimate goal of being a professional athlete or whatever the case may be, where you're gonna get that money regardless.
Right.
So it's like understanding, not being in a space of like short-term satisfaction, to understand you still want to reach your ultimate goal. So I think to staying grounded in that space, because you talk about 300,000 or 250,000, once taxes hit, it ain't even that.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's like, what are you really sacrificing? So an extra 50,000 that you're not really even going to see. You know what I'm saying? That 50 is really 25, 23, 22. But that's where the education comes in also. So for me, it's always just keeping them, again, I say keep the main thing, because that's what's so important. It's all embedded in where you're trying to go. Like you didn't bust your tail to get to college for NIL. You bust your tail to get to college to give your opportunity to continue your journey to your ultimate goal. So if we keep that mindset, and then just make sure we strategically, right, create the blueprint of, all right, these are the different options, this is how it's going to look. But at the end of the day, what is it that you're ultimately trying to achieve, and who gives you that best opportunity? Then it helps, it kind of keeps things aligned for you.
Right.
You know what I mean?
For sure.
And my thing, I tell people all the time, like, you can't miss what you ain't never have in the first place. No athlete entering the college saying I got 300,000 or 250 in my bank account. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So, all right, bet. But there's 250, 225, and a lot of people might say, oh yeah, Mike tripping right now. No, but it's a real thing. If sometimes we can lose our grounding by just being so short-sighted. Like, no, what is the goal? Like, keep your goals aligned. And don't just trick out just for a couple extra 25 or extra 50, because it ain't going to be worth you not reaching your goal. You're going to be like, man, forget the money. You'll do it for free if you can reach that ultimate goal.
Right.
So to staying grounded in that space while still having people in your circle to allow you to maximize on wherever that your feet may land, because there's always opportunity to maximize, right? So yeah, that's how I feel about that.
Yeah, and I got a good question, man. Like, what advice do you have for the young athletes coming in to college, where now it's getting even harder to earn a scholarship because of this NIL, because guys are older now in college, because of the transfer portal, JUCO doesn't count as a college year now. So what advice do you have for the young ones that's like, man, how do I get in this door? If I'm not a top 10, top 15 guy, but I still have aspirations of playing at the Division I level?
Yeah, no, the landscape is constantly changing and shifting. So my thing is, all right, how do you make yourself that person that people want to still gravitate to and grab, and to still stay grounded in the work? You're going to have to work extra hard, though. So we look at now, Rick Pitino just came out and said, like, no, he ain't recruiting any high school players. He's recruiting the transfer portal.
Yes.
But guess what? He just said it out loud. that is really the precedent that is set, especially for these high major universities. If you're not a top 50 talent, bro, you're gonna have to grind. Like you might have to go an extra route. So even recently, there have been some athletes where I'm like, look, if such and such offered you, that's a great level. Go to that level, prove yourself, and then be one of those players up the transfer portal. You know what I'm saying? So with the constant change in the landscape, I would say you have to make sure that you make yourself one of those players that people say that they have to win. And you got to be realistic on, all right, where am I? And you got to have people around you that's realistic and telling you like, no, I think this is the best opportunity for you, and creating a plan. So I always say, if you fail to if you fail to plan, you plan to fail, right? So all of this stuff is still a plan. It's still steps, and it's still a plan that you can work, right? But you have to be realistic. And sometimes what happens with a lot of parents, they see their babies. You know what I'm saying? Your baby is a superstar in your eyes, right? But you don't have anybody that's really bringing you realistic information and perspective. So having that circle is so important, and not being around people who just want to use your child and your talent to say they're in my program and it's going along with whatever it is your thoughts are. But really being realistic with saying, all right, look, I know you want Ohio State, but maybe we need to start at like a VCU. And it's okay. You know what I'm saying? Because if you go to that level and you prove yourself, then guess what? You be one of the coaches. You be one of the players that the coaches are recruiting out of the transfer portal. So it's all about making that, making that plan. But I always say everything to stay grounded in the work. Make yourself the best player that you can become, and then now you're playing with house money. You know what I mean?
For sure.
So as far as that, but the landscape is changing, and that's why education again is so important, because it's not every year it changes and it looks different. And the transfer portal has made things so much harder for the high school athlete. So for me, it's always again about just making a plan and being realistic about the situation and seeing where you are, and just work in that space. And I keep reiterating this, is making sure you have people around you that are honest, that's gonna keep it 100 with you, and that actually can help you create a plan. Because everybody can't help you create a plan, because a lot of people haven't gone through all of the things to say, all right, how can I make a successful plan in this situation? But if you do that, everything else it'll help give you more perspective, and it helps you understand the boxes that you need to check to get where you are, that you're trying to go, get to where you're trying to go.
For sure.
Yeah.
And you've been around guys that have overachieved, and then you've seen guys who maybe underachieve. You know, what are some commonalities from both, from the overachievers, and then what have you seen that caused kids to maybe underachieve from expectation?
Honestly, underachievers always chalk up to who's around them. Because if you underachieve, that means you have the ability to achieve what it is that you're trying to, but you fall short. From my experience, I can always connect that to the people they have around them, right? And why are those people around? So we've seen, and especially at the guard position. So I believe when you're 6'8", you can shoot, you can dribble. Guess what? You good, right? But what we doing with those 6'2", 6'3s and down? That's where success is shown for me in this space.
Absolutely.
Because the 6'7s and the 6'8s, the Derek Queen, you can drop Derek Queen right now in the middle of Arkansas. With his ability, he's going to be able to do whatever it is that he want to do and create whatever it is that he want to create for himself, because he is gifted, right? There's not two Derek Queens in this world, like flat out. That's how phenomenal of a talent he is, right? But then when we get to this guard position, what do we have? Millions. So where does the separation come? You know what I mean?
For sure.
So for me, it's always it's about the people that you have in your corner. You know what I'm saying? It's the people that you have that are pushing you and instilling those things in you, where they're not trying to just use you. as a, all right, bet, I just want you to be a part of what I got, and I see that you're really good, so I want to attach on to you. Because in basketball, when you're in the spaces like, unfortunately, that we're in, um, it's always about, all right, what do you have next? That's what keeps you relevant in the space, right? For those who just they for those who want to stay in the space, they just always looking for the next one that's attached to you. So they'll say boom, 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 woo, woo, just to stay a part of it. You know what I mean? Whether you pass or fail, you fail, all right, bet, it's on to the next one. You know? So the people that you have around you is this monumental. So the difference between the two, for me, has always been, who do you have around you? Who are the people that's speaking into you every day? Who are the people that's pushing you and telling you the things that you do not want to hear? That's where that separation comes from. You follow me? If Bishop ain't have you in his life, continue speaking the same things over and over, and it was just somebody else that just saw he was just a good player, and they was like, "Oh yeah, this kid can score. Oh, this kid might got a chance." But then LSU happened, and he just left. What did we have with Bishop? You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's a real thing. And we've seen it over and over. We've seen extremely good talent fall to waste, not because they didn't truly have the ability. It was because they had people around them. And I'll say this, we have to get out of a space of just looking at kids as just athletes.
Yes.
They have so much more in them, right? But sometimes we put them into a box where all of the greatness that they have is lost when the game is gone. And we lose out on so many phenomenal stories because all we want to do is push a kid to be an athlete, not recognizing all of the great things that they have in them. We got a lot of slick players out here that can dress their ass off, stylists. We have a lot of guys that are great in science, math, English, all of these spaces. We got players that can debate you down. All right, I see qualities of a lawyer. Oh man, you this come that easy? Or I see an engineer. Or I see these things, right? We got to get in the space of just categorizing all of our kids as just athletes and let them know also the other great things that they have in them. Again, that comes with your circle of people. So just making sure you have the right people around you is the failure and success rate.
For sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, it was kind of one of those reasons why I tried to start the academy, where we not just talking about basketball, but throughout the week we get on Zoom calls and we talking about financial literacy and how to start a business and I like to ask the question all the time, like, what do you like outside of basketball? And don't just tell me just basketball.
Facts.
I'm making you sit there and think for 10 to 15 minutes of something outside of basketball. Because like you said, like, we more than just this. I want to be recognized as more than just a trainer.
Facts.
Like you said,
Because you are more than just a trainer.
I am more,
Absolutely.
but if you don't tap into those things,
Mhm.
then you're not able to express it to the world. And so this interview was just one space where I'm like, I can show that I'm more than just player development or basketball. I got a lot of layers to me.
For sure.
And giving athletes that same outing to do that is what I wanted to create.
100%.
For sure. Now, I seen you at Poly this year, man. You back in the coaching space. Like what led you to be there? And I never thought that I would see you,
Mhm.
at a high school and
Yeah.
back in the mix with the basketball stuff, man. Like, what led to that decision?
Coach Donald. That's it, and that's all. I swear to you. Coach Donald, I coached 15 and on together with Coach Baseline, and I had a great experience with it. Coach Donald was hitting me up. I told him I couldn't do it a lot of times, but then understanding the space, you know what I mean? And I believe in a lot of when you really rock with somebody, sometimes you got to because I didn't want to coach again. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm happy I did jump back into the space, but that wasn't an inkling of a thought in my mind. But when it comes to relationships, it's important to me to make sure if I have an ability to support someone on their new journey, it's to support them as best as I can to help them get into a space of success. And then once they get to a level, I can then slide out. You know what I mean? But it's hard to be with it's hard to find like-minded individuals. So when you do have those people with Coach Donald and Coach Briscoe, Like my goal is always just to support. You know what I mean? My position is a volunteer position, so I don't get no money, anything.
For sure.
It's really just the love. You know, knowing that both of these individuals have what it takes to take kids who just have a dream and make those dreams come into fruition. If I can support in that process, it's nothing but love. And I told even the poly kids, like, look, basketball is small to me. So my biggest thing, I stay on top of them on their grades, making sure they're doing what they're supposed to do, community service and all of those things, to really build a brand that was already built with Sam Brand, Fitzgerald, etc., where they had a platform where they had kids go Division 1, Marquette, Dayton, Temple, so they already had it, right? Once they transitioned on into their other endeavors, now we have the opportunity to basically recreate what they've done.
For sure.
And they done a phenomenal job. Poly had a phenomenal run years ago, like one of the best teams in the country.
For sure.
So it's about recreating that, and I'm confident in Coach Donald and Coach Briscoe with myself that we're going to recreate that. And the goal is to make it better than what it was. Not knocking what Sam Brand and those guys did, right? Because what they did is remarkable. But why do something not to try to surpass it?
For sure.
You follow me?
For sure.
So yeah, that's what got me back into the space, and I'm excited to be in the space. I don't know how long I'm going to be in the space, but while I'm here, we're going to go hard.
For sure.
You know what I mean?
And I was just going to tap into that because I know you can't do something and not try to be the best at it.
Absolutely.
And I'm talking to you already, and you like, man, I'm out recruiting. So like, you can't even do something without wrecking your brain on how to get to the highest level of it. So like, what has it been like tapping back into that space of like heavy recruiting and, you know, going to games and just being back out in the field?
Man, listen.
Because you've been retired for a while.
Man, listen, I'm going to say this to you. So it's a gift and a curse. All right. So back when I started being in AAU and high school, I was always known as a recruiter. I would go with wherever. And I got I learned a lot in that space. Now, I feel like the type of time I'm on is I know what we offer. I know what I offer. I know what Coach Donald offers. I know what Coach Briscoe offers in the space. And it's almost like I want to offer the opportunity to everyone. I wish I could, right? But it's not oftentimes where, so Poly for me is a private school education for free. So what we're offering is actually something where parents are chasing because you want the best academics along with the best basketball. You want to offer these, but we're offering it for free because it's a public school. But what you're getting is so rich. So to be back in the space, I feel like I'm cooking with hot grease. I feel like it's a cheat code in the space. And a lot of kids have been wanting to come. And I've been in the space even with people I'm very, very close to, right? Of saying, look, I'm not recruiting you. I want to offer you opportunity. Because this ain't just a seasonal thing. We're building a program. We're building back a program. So being in the space, listen, I got to sometimes calm myself down because my competitiveness is just always on go. But I'm in a space now with finally being like, all right, I know what we got is good. And I know the knowledge that we have is insurmountable. And I want to be, honestly, kind of what St. Francis is in the BCO and the MIAA.
For sure.
Which is like a safe space for kids. You come. The one thing I respect about Nick Miles, because I'm always about celebrating and saluting people. No matter what, I'm always going to be a supporter of St. Francis because I know Nick Miles is going to do whatever. He's loyal to his kids. It doesn't matter where you fall on the spectrum. He's going to bust his tail to make sure you get to the next level, right? And he's called me. I've called him. And we support one another in that space. I'm trying to be that in the city lens,
For sure.
right?
Yeah.
Where we're still playing super competitive basketball, but every kid that comes through, I want to know what your goal is, and we're going to bust our tail to make sure that goal comes into fruition for you. So I'm appreciative to being in that space again. And I didn't know how much I missed the space until I got back in it. But I will say, we got something. We
For
got
sure.
yeah, we got something that's going to move and shake and really knock things out the park.
For sure.
And anybody that comes, just know, I don't know what camera I'm looking at. I'm gonna look at this one. If you come to Poly, just know whatever your goal is, we're gonna bring it into fruition. Yeah,
For
that's where
sure.
we at.
Man, and just watching you for so many years, you're so hard to figure out because it's like you've been doing this for so long and never want anything in return.
Mm-hmm.
And like you're not making no money off these kids, you're not stuffing your pockets. So like what is the end goal for Mike? Like when it's all said and done, you know, what's the end goal? Where do you want to be at? What are you building? You know, I always ask you that. You kind of never give me like a straight answer. You're super hard to
Yeah.
figure out. So I want to know like what is the end goal?
So I'll say this: the reason why is not I'm hard to figure out. I have a career.
Mhm.
A lot of people, a lot of people don't know me personally,
Right.
so people only see the surface level of Mike at games, Mike the coach, Mike quote unquote trainer. I'm not a trainer, but Mike the trainer, right? But they don't realize Mike spent a lot of money on college degrees. Mike has a career, right? My career is in education. So this is more so for me. I don't look at basketball or sports to get me to a next level.
For sure.
My goal is always to really each one teach one, plant seeds. My kids at Poly asked me one day, like, Coach Mike, how much you charge for training? And it really took me back in the space of, yo, I've never charged for training ever in my life. You know what I'm saying? I told them my payment is your success. So watching you get to the next level is my success. Allowing people to utilize me to help put them in the right positions for their success is my payment. Um, and that's what it's all about for me. You follow me? I'm really big on, yo, at some point, we just gotta give. We just gotta give. I know that the blessings from God that He gives me are, listen, I am blessed in abundance, but those blessings stop if God cannot bless people through me. So I receive all of the blessings and I just want to give other people blessings. You know what I'm saying? Like, I want God to use me as a vessel to help other people. It's not about what I'm trying, like my end goal. I'm good. You know what I'm saying? Like, I live good, I eat good. Like, I have no want in the world, you know what I'm saying, other than to see other people successful. And that's like the foundation of everything. And I think if we get back into that, into community, that's all that matters. I remember, and you did an interview with Rod, right?
Yeah.
I never saw Rod play until this year. Legit, I never watched him play until this year. He played St. Francis at St. Francis. They lost that game, but I left there a fan of Rod, right? And I left there in the space of like, yo, he's like an NBA vet. This is demeanor, his like his savvy. And immediately the next day, I started hitting college coaches. And I don't say nothing I can't prove. I got it right in my phone, right? Of like, but that for me, that's community. I I've never in my life had a 2-minute conversation with Rod, but just me watching him. We got to look out for this kid
For sure.
as a community, right? So if I have resources and relationships, the goal is to use relationships to help other people. So when we talk about like what is my end goal? My end goal is to see us win. Who is us? It's not a takeover. It's not a thrill. It's not a Poly. It's not a mellow. Us for me is a collective of individuals. Because if we put all of these different resources together, everybody can win.
Yep.
But where we get stagnated is when we only care about those that we feel like, all right, they with me. You follow what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that's where we lose, because you never know who can help somebody else. So for me, when we talk about like what is my end goal is for kids to win. My end goal is for those who have dreams and aspirations to win. My end goal is, if you want to be a college coach, how can I help? If this kid don't have any offers, how can I help when I know he deserves it? If this person wants training and can't afford it or whatever the case may be, how can I help? Right?
Sure.
That's the end goal, is to bring a collective of resources together to help everybody win. Because if that's not your ultimate goal, then you're in it for the wrong reasons. And that's flat out. I don't care what jersey you put on. We're dealing with human beings. Human beings deserve a chance. Everybody don't have the same resources, but guess what? If we bring all those resources together, I guarantee you everybody can win. So my end goal is that. As far as like money and all that, I'm good. I ain't rich. But guess what? I'm good. I got a career. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
So I never look at how I can eat off the space. I've helped athletes get over, probably since this NIL space have started, I probably helped athletes get about 2 million in NIL. I've never received a percentage off of it, never asked. But guess what? I do ask. If I reach out to you and say a kid need a coat, I expect you to get it. You know what I'm saying? I expect that. If I say, hey, I'm doing something for bop, 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 I expect that. It ain't for me. It's always to help someone else. So the seeds that I plant, that's how I want them to grow. So that's my end goal. Like, it's just to see everybody win, to continue being a vessel. If somebody calls, to pick up the call and say, how can I help? That's it. And if we get into that space, I guarantee you we'll see so much more success in this town than we've ever seen before, regardless of sport. But we got to get out of this cliquish mentality and get into a mentality of, how can I help? Then everything else falls in line.
For sure. And I just wanted some advice on, how you balance, your career, coaching, managing these athletes, and just this, and the self-care, your own personal self-care, making sure you're on top of your health and you always exercising and eating the right things and making sure you're mentally stable. Like, how do you balance the two? Because you're always super busy.
So it took a long time to learn that. One, I'm big on therapy. My life didn't change until I actually went to started going to therapy, right? Because what happens is when you deal with people and you service people, and again, my field is in education, so I work with thousands of children across the district, across Baltimore City. And what happens is when you lead with a culture of care, you get a lot that you have to carry. So therapy changed my life in the space of just understanding what self-care really is. Because we can get wrapped in taking care of other people rather than taking care of ourselves.
Sure.
Right? So for me, my balance has started coming with, so I took all last summer off. I didn't do any traveling. I didn't coach. I didn't do anything pertaining to really basketball. A lot of these kids now that's playing, I really genuinely don't know, right? Because I've kind of separated myself so much from the space, because we can kind of get caught up in those things being our identity, that we realize it really ain't. Our identity is in our families. Our identity in the things that we plant seeds in every day. But I've always made it a point to recently, because I ain't gonna act like this has been forever thing. This has literally been in the last 24 months thing, of just making sure that you take care of you, because the goal is to pour into other people's cups. But how can you pour from a cup that's empty? That's the question I always ask people. Where's your cup? Right? For my athletes, for my guys, I always say I do a scale. Check-in. My check-in is always scale of 1 to 10, how we feeling. 10 is we feeling like we on a whole nother level. We in a galaxy. Zeros, we just at the dumps,
Depleted.
you're done,
Yeah.
right? So I always ask, whenever we in a 7 and up, we in a good space. Anything under a 7 is like, all right, what's going on? So it's acknowledging those things and knowing every day isn't going to be the best day, but we got to make sure that we are actually keeping ourselves first, because we can't give to someone else what we don't have. For me, I make sure I wake up every morning, I work out. That's like the best time of my day. 5 in the morning, I'm at the gym. Making sure listen, we've lost a lot of people recently, especially with heart attacks and other different things, other physical ailments. So making sure that we just stand on top of our game. And bro, I swear, it's like it's not a science project, but I just try to recently I just been putting me first. You know what I'm saying? And I realized putting me first allows for more people to be successful. You know what I'm like? We got to start with self. So once I got that understanding, because I was ripping and running for everybody, and next thing you know, I'm drinking wine every night. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
But once I realized, all right, we got to flip that. And I put me first, and I put me first by taking a break, a long break. Like you said, I haven't coached in a long time. I'm taking a long break just to kind of understand what is important. And once I set that precedent and made those boundaries in my life, everything else became easier. And now I feel the freest I've ever felt in my life. My birthday just passed. Everybody's like, "How was your birthday?" And I ain't really do nothing crazy. Did my normal. But I say, yo, it was the first time I really felt free. The love was genuine. But then I think about it, I put that work in place 18 months ago. But now I'm starting to feel it. Like I'm really starting to embody that space. So, and especially I say this for you because you're in the same space. Like, put you first. You feel me? You can't give nothing to your children, to the kids that you mentor, to your lady, to anything from an empty cup. So you got to make sure that your cup stays full. Because if your cup is full, you can always pour from it. You can't pour from an empty cup.
For sure.
So that's been my philosophy.
And like, what was like some key indicators that like caused you to be like, hold on, I got to pump the brakes and take a year off? Like, what did you see in yourself, or is it something we can talk about on air where you was like, man, I need to take a chill and tap into myself? Like, what drew you to do that?
I think recognizing people who were using you while you ripping and running and all those, and it's like it just ain't never enough. But also it just came from a feeling of just fatigue. You know what I'm saying? It just came from a feeling of fatigue. Like, we got to be able to recognize when enough is enough.
Yeah.
You follow me? And we got to make sure that once we recognize that, we actually doing what we need to do to pump the brakes and know that it's okay. And understanding that when you pump those brakes, the people who rocking with you still gonna rock with you. It ain't like, oh, you pumped the brakes, so now they ran to somebody else. You follow me? They respected in the space of like, all right, I want you to do you. You follow me? So that was really it. I was really just depleted. Like, I was done. And the thing that brought me joy didn't bring me joy anymore when I knew I loved it. That's a big thing.
For sure.
You know what I'm saying? Like, when you rocking and rolling, the thing that used to bring you joy doesn't bring you joy anymore. It feels more like it's draining you. That's when it's really time to pump a brake. And that's what happened with me. It was just like, all right, I got to do a hard stop. Because now the thing that I love is starting to irritate me. You know, like, real talk. Like, the thing that I love, the people that I love is starting to irritate the hell out of me. So I got to do a hard stop. And I have to figure out what is going on with me. So in this basketball space and sports space, and especially for me, I always felt like I was always in a constant fight. And at some point, you just get tired of fighting. So then it was like, all right, bet. Let me take a step back, recalibrate, look at this thing for what it is, and understand, like, what is it in me that I need to change? Number one was creating boundaries. Because if you don't create boundaries, people will they will tap dance on your ass.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
For sure.
They will continue. Takers only know how to take. It's just that simple. So once I took that step back, it also helped me in the space of allowing people to know this ain't about you. I don't care about, because some people really can think that you really just a part of the ride. No, like not at all. I will jump off this ride in a heartbeat, right? And it allows people to know how to deal with you. You feel me? So for me, it was acknowledging that, like the things that I love ain't bringing me joy anymore, and then get in the space of, all right, now take a time out and just regroup. And with that regroup, once I got those things in line, like other aspects of my life, because basketball is so small, other aspects of my life just started flourishing. Work started flourishing. Um, Other businesses and things that I had in mind I actually brought into fruition. You know what I mean? Um, but it took that time, that break of like, bro, this is so small. And I'm still there for the same people, but just not in the basketball space, because basketball is small. It's a life thing for me. Like people calling and asking for advice and all, that's a life thing. That has nothing to do with basketball. Because I'm not trying to be Rich Paul. If it happens, it happens. I ain't trying to block blessings of God, you know what I'm saying? But that ain't my goal. My goal ain't trying to be Rich Paul. My goal is to help people.
Right.
That's it. So I always want to stay grounded in that space, but just recognizing those things and creating those boundaries is what helped my rejuvenation even come back to being back in this space of basketball and helping coaching every day and being in the gym 6 days a week and extra workouts and all of those things while being back in school, while working, while raising a kid. You know what I'm saying? All of these things. But without that space of therapy is number one. I don't want mental health is real. Mental health is real. Um, if going to therapy, it changed my life. Never be afraid of it. Um, Doing those things allowed me to get back my rhythm back. You know what I'm saying? And even this summer, when I say I think I might travel again, like I'm gonna make sure I tiptoe into it. I ain't gonna dive straight in. I'm gonna tiptoe into it of just traveling again and being back in that space to see what happens. But I'm really good where I'm at, like 1,000%, and
For
I
sure.
mean that on everything.
For sure. For sure. Where do you think the overall landscape of Baltimore basketball is at? From where you started to where we at now. Given unbiased,
Mhm.
opinion, and where do you think the overall space of Baltimore basketball is at, and is it space for it to grow? And
Listen. We can always grow. Nothing is done growing, no matter where you are on this planet. There's always room to grow. I think we're in a good spot, right? Team Thrill has been doing phenomenal. Team Mello has done the past 3 years have done a full. They've done some restructuring within the organization that has led it to really like growing. Even when I looked at Sam Brand has he has this nonprofit, the what is it called?
is this the sanctuary,
The
right?
Sanctuary. I saw that recently on social media, and I
Super
was
dope.
I was floored by it. You know what I mean? So I believe Baltimore basketball is in a great space. How I feel like we grow is with more so how we treat one another. I think sometimes the culture that we're in is like kind of like a cult or gang culture with
Mhm.
basketball.
I
Like
agree.
you gotta be with them. If you with them, you with them. If you with them, with them. But I think that's kind of counterproductive.
I agree.
You know what I'm saying? So we get into a collective space of, again, wanting to see people just grow, helping everybody, and being just competitive. I think that's when we will exceed expectation. But as far as, I think it's in great hands. Um, High school wise, City with Omar, Danzler with Edmondson, Tree, who's a legend, um, over at Lake Clifton Reach. I feel like we are in a good space. So I don't have any like, oh my God, this is we're in the wrong direction. I don't.
Oh, for sure.
I feel like we have the right people in the right space to take it where it needs to go and continue producing the talent that we've had coming up. You know what I'm saying? I think everything comes in waves. But with this eighth grade wave that I've seen, ninth grade, 10th grade, I feel like we're on a cusp of something. You know what I'm saying? Like of it coming back to that level, but everything happens in
For
waves.
sure.
You know what I'm saying? So the wave we are right now, we a little down, but in 1 to 2 years, I know it's gonna flip,
Right.
and we're gonna be back on top because of the people that we have really, you know what I'm saying, holding those spaces. Um, so I think we're good. I don't have any no slights or no negative thoughts on where we are. Even when I'm even trying to rack my brains to even think of something that might be a red flag, but I really don't have a red flag. The only thing I will say is that I just want us to make sure that we are educating athletes and parents, that we're educating ourselves going into these new spaces with NIL, with the college landscape, because it's way different and it changes more every year. So being educational, that's the foundation. Education is my foundation. So I feel like we have a responsibility to make sure we stay on top of things and make sure we're educating parents and our athletes to prepare them for this forever changing landscape because new things are happening every month, every year. Um, and I think that will help us really in a space of not just the Baltimore level, but when we go to these different colleges and different spaces, the educational aspect, I want us to lock more so into that. You know what I'm saying? To really make sure we have some people with that's entering into these situations with the most knowledge that they can have, so people don't take advantage of them.
For sure.
That's it.
For sure. Can you talk about some advice that you're giving? We're gonna close on this.
Okay.
Some advice that you're giving your athletes on what they should be posting on social media and how to keep their social media clean so they can, get these endorsements and just not shoot themselves in the foot with sometimes posting things that could harm them in the long term.
So I'll say every athlete is a business. Look at yourself as a business, right? The same way you look at yourself as a business, same way I kind of look at myself as a business. I want every athlete should look at themselves as a business. So everything that you post is a reflection of the business, a reflection of you, a reflection of your character, right? Um, so my biggest thing with posting, and I'm not, and I'll say this, I don't really have a whole bunch of talks about social media. And the reason is because it's like, all right, we've been in the social media age for a long time. Like if you don't know now, you just don't want to know. You follow what I'm saying?
For sure.
But looking at yourself as a business is what keeps things moving forward. So as a business, if you're posting something that's crazy, what would that do? It'll harm the business. It'll harm the image of the business. It'll harm people that might want to invest in the business. So if we teach as we enter into this space again, teaching that you're not just a person, an athlete anymore. If you want to get to a certain level, you gotta look at yourself as a business. The top athletes now that we see on TV, they are businesses because they are brands. And I say Derek Queen because he's in more than a decade the hottest thing that we've had come out of Baltimore. Derek Queen is a brand.
For sure.
He's not just a basketball player. He's a brand, right? So what he posts is a reflection of the brand of Derek Queen. If it ain't Derek Queen, it's somebody else, right? We look at a Cooper Flag at Duke. What he posts is the brand. So you look at these athletes now, what they posting? They're brands. Cooper got a deal with New Balance. What is he posting? Him with New Balance on. He posting, reposting with Duke posts. That's his brand. You know what I'm saying? So understanding that space, that no, everything you do is a reflection of the brand. The brand is everybody that's attached to the brand. Your parents, your agencies, your whoever is in your brand, whoever in your infrastructure, right? It's a reflection of that. So how do you want your brand seen? That's it. What do you see on Nike? You don't see Nike posting nothing crazy. Everything is online with the brand. You know, Chick-fil-A, it's a brand. One thing we say about Chick-fil-A, great customer service. No matter where you go, the customer service emulates one after another. Whether you're in Catonsville, whether you're on Fed, you're on Boston Street, no matter where you go to Chick-fil-A, You can be downtown. The brand is the brand. They all speak the same language. So athletes, when you really have those aspirations of being big, look at everything that you do as your brand, and how do you want your brand perceived? That's what you post. So if you want to post music, rap music with crazy lyrics, that's your brand. Right? If you want to post yourself in the gym, getting it in 5 in the morning, that's your brand. Right? Everything is a reflection of you. So you have to decide how you want to be perceived and how you want to be looked at.
Yeah. And I think a lot of times these athletes kind of don't know, like, perception is everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they mean well when they post certain stuff.
For sure.
But these donors and these college coaches don't know,
Mm-hmm.
you know, what's the meaning behind it when you may post these rap lyrics, or you
Yeah.
might post yourself on your block, or, you know, things of that nature. They don't know that it's
For sure.
harmless. You know, so kind of just understanding, like you said, that everything you post will be perceived in a manner, whether or not it's good or
It's
bad.
a reflection of you.
Yeah.
No matter what, like, no matter how you do it, it's a reflection of you. I sent someone a text message of something. I said, look, I don't post this on my social media because I don't want to influence anyone to do this, right? And it was sports betting, right? I'm gonna keep it clean. It was sports betting. Showed my wins. But I said, I don't post, you know, some people, they post their sports best wins. And I was like, I don't post this.
That's a good one.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
that ain't something I post because I don't want to influence people to sports bet.
Right.
Because it's really negative, for
Yeah.
real, right? I know the sports, so I do indulge a little bit. That don't make it right. But why would I put that on my social media? Because guess what? I know there are a lot of kids that follow me. So if I post that, that's almost saying it's okay.
For sure.
It's not okay. You know what I'm saying? So that's something I don't put on my social media. But I just did that. I just had a conversation with somebody today, you know what I mean, about that.
For sure.
And I don't want that attached to my brand. Yeah, I just spoke it because we're going to be authentic in the space and honest in the space, right? But that I don't want that associated with my brand, with who I am, you know?
For sure.
And I don't want to influence anyone to say, oh, Mike do it, so I think it's cool. No, it's not. So I don't put that on my social media because of the influence that it will have and the perception that it might have. So I think that's that's the easiest way I can kind of put that.
For sure.
Yeah.
There you have it, man. We was knee deep in the game with Mike McCormick. I want to thank him for getting on here, man.
So
Man, we had a dope episode, man. Tune in.